today we are making a really cool, what's it called? Oh my god. Oh, coffee table with some cool storage on it. I got the idea from another YouTube video I saw from like a pretty popular YouTuber, but I wanted to change a couple things on it. I started by cutting 2x4s into the lengths that I needed for the table, and then I went over to the table saw and ripped them into half-inch pieces. And then we went to planing all the boards and sanding them. Unfortunately, dummy me forgot that the reason why I don't play music while I'm working is because then I have to deal with copyright issues and then I can't record and everything. So unfortunately, during the first half of this video, we're not going to have any sound. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I saw another YouTuber do it, but they used like cedar fence posts. I wanted to see if I could do it just using 2x4s. So the dimensions of the tabletop is 24 by 48 inches, and the table is 18 inches tall, and we're also going to have 3.5 inches of storage space underneath the tabletop. So I planed everything down and then I sanded it to 120 grit. And then after this, I started cutting the dimensions for the legs, 18 inches long, and I had to cut 4 for each leg to make it look like it's a 4x4. So I needed them all to be exactly the same length. So as you can see, I rigged up a little backstop. I measured out 18 inches to make sure that each of these would be the exact same length so I wouldn't run into issues of some being longer than others and then having to figure out a way to cut the excess off at the end. So here comes the actual gluing of these 4 pieces to make the legs, and I think this really shows my amateur woodworking skills because I'm sure there is definitely an easier way to do this with some kind of jig or rig that you can make. So basically my thought process was I have the bottom one, make sure it's flat, and then I line up the 2 side pieces one by one and wood glue them each, and then just put the top piece on and then like make sure all of them are like flush with each other. And the first one was definitely the toughest one, but like I kind of got in the groove after that, and they turned out surprisingly very well compared to like the way that I actually did it. And then I clamped them all down and let them all dry overnight, and I also used a brad nailer when I felt like it was needed. So here's the actual cutting of the different lengths that I needed for the tabletop. So I wanted to use like a stratified little design on it with different stains and stuff. So I started with leaving the top and bottom pieces at 48 inches because I wanted that to be like the base of the design, which you can see right here. The bottom piece and the top piece stayed the same. So we have 7 planks total. The first outside 2 do not get cut, and then as we go inwards, the surrounding pieces get smaller and then the inside pieces get bigger, which lead to like the really cool stratified design that comes out in the end. So I've been trying to think of the best way to explain the measurements for this. So the pieces that I'm calling the outer pieces are the pieces that are getting stained right now. And then we have the differently colored inside pieces that are going to come later. So as we go in, these outside pieces get smaller and the inside pieces get bigger. So with our first 2 outermost pieces, they're 48 inches. Then you come in and those 2 outer pieces are 16 inches. And then you come in again and those are only 12 inches. And then the smallest pieces, which hold the biggest inside piece, are only 8 inches. And then for our inner pieces, we start with a 16-inch inner piece for the smallest one, then 24-inch second inside, and then the last one is 32 inches. I hope that is understandable. For my shortest little inside pieces, I did Puritan Pine, and then the second one I did Honey, and that one's a really pretty color because based on how thick you put it, because I got like a stain and polyurethane mix, the color will get darker. So if I only do one coat, it kind of looks like a beachy reddish orange color, but the more coats that I do, the more rich brown and red it gets. And then the innermost one was just true black stain, and all these are Minwax stains if I'm not mistaken. So right here is the absolute best reason I can give you for wiping the excess glue off with a wet rag, because I just let it dry overnight being complacent, and it spent me like 1.5 hours to sand down all these legs, getting all the wood glue and everything off. So here I'm just cutting some cabinet board to go underneath of the actual planks for the tabletop, just to make it a little bit thicker. The cabinet board's actually pretty thin. It's only 0.219 inches thick, and it was only $14 for a 48 inch by 96 inch piece. And this is just to make it a little bit thicker, a little more strong, and then something else that the screws for the hinges of the tabletop can grip into. So here's the actual just gluing of these planks onto the tabletop, and you can see kind of what the tabletop's gonna look like when it's done. But one thing that I didn't record is the platform for the storage space. I basically cut the same exact dimensions for the top table, 48 inches by 24 inches, with 7 planks of wood, just like with this tabletop, for the bottom of the storage area. And that is just going to be 3.5 inches deep, like I mentioned before, using our same 2x4 trim around it. And so it's going to kind of have like a discrete little storage area. So as you can see by all the shavings on the ground, I had planed the boards that I was going to use for the trim the night before, and I had ordered this Craig pocket hole jig to like connect all of the trim to the legs to create the frame for the table, but it was back ordered for like 2 weeks. So I had like a ton of packs of L brackets sitting around from a prior project where I definitely miscalculated the amount that I would need. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to use up those L brackets and connect it to the legs to create that frame for the tabletop to sit on, and for our little storage area to get screwed onto as well. I made this. So this is going to be inserted into our table to give us some storage space. What I have to do next is I just have to sand it all down on both sides. Then I'm going to add just some supports on, like, right across here. And then we're going to put it on the inside of our table, and then we'll be done. Well, no we won't. We still have to add the hinges and then poly everything, and then we'll be done. Alright, we're gonna sand this puppy. And full disclosure, the only reason why I have an N95 mask right now is because my dad already owned these prior to the coronavirus outbreak.